Hello. All right. So, I'm going to make the half rose, half butterflies design today. I've gotten some requests. Yeah, and so here I am. I have pre-cut all of my templates, all of my template elements. I've pre-cut all the petals, basically the bud, the base, and the butterflies using my Cricut machine. As far as the paper, I'm using 65-pound cardstock or 176 GSM. This is a solid core paper, and the one that I picked for today is this lovely like blush pink color. And yeah, the template comes with all of the petals already duplicated. It already comes with like the slit in the petal, well, in all the petals. So literally all you have to do is download the SVG from Etsy, upload it onto Design Space, which is the software that your machine uses. It works with other machines as well. And then just go ahead and print, or rather cut. So yeah, now I'm going to shape the petals, and as you can see, I'm using this wooden dowel. And I am simply gliding my wooden dowel as well as like my index finger in this upward motion to make a curl, to make the sides or the edges curl up. And that's it. That is all I'm going to do. Now, because I'm using 65-pound cardstock with this style petal, I like to double up. Because that obviously saves me some time. And then depending on what kind of paper you're using and how comfortable you are with curling the petals, you may or may not be able to do it. But yeah, you can also use a wooden, or not a wooden, a bone folder to curl the petals. You could use a marker if you don't have any of those. And then we're going to repeat for all the petals. And as I'm doing this, I am then also just separating them into the different sizes, different layers. Here I have 3 petals layered. I definitely need to use a little bit more like elbow grease, you know, to get the curl the way I want it, but it is possible. Again, I'm using 65-pound cardstock. It may be different for you depending on your choice of paper. The petals are not symmetrical, that's why I like to make sure that they're both facing the same direction, but it's not, it really ultimately does not matter. So because we are shaping both sides of the petal the same. So yeah. Alright, so these attached petal layers that you see, this is what's going to make up the bud. So I'm going to also shape these with the well, in my case with my wooden dowel, with my shaping tool. after we have shaped all of them, we are going to use some hot glue to make them even more three-dimensional. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and at this point preheat your glue gun. So that it has time to like warm up and be ready for you to use. What else? I'm using my Shore Bonder, the Lily Lynn and Shore Bonder hot glue. This one is, as you can see, wireless, which is nice. And yeah, it's actually already ready to go. So same thing for the bud centers. We're going to essentially do the same thing, and again, you can either choose to do one at a time, or you can double up or even triple, depending. Okay, and then doing the same thing, just lifting the petal, the sides of the petal up or down, but just make sure that both sides are going in the same direction. And we have two more. So that was the first step, which was shaping the petals with a shaping tool, a wooden dowel in my case. Our next step is to take all of the petals. We're not going to need these for now. We're just going to use the individual petals. And we're going to overlap the sides. So as you can see, each petal has a slit. We're going to place a little bit of glue, a dot of glue on one side of that slit, and then we're going to overlap the two sides essentially. We don't want to go in too much, we just want to lift the petal slightly. So you're going to go in only slightly, okay? It's probably too much glue, but it had already like out of the glue gun, so just like that. Okay, you do not need a lot, so we're going to repeat. Now remember how I said that the petals had to, like, we lifted them like up basically, because this is how I prefer to work. Again, it could have also been down. Now so it didn't matter basically is what I'm trying to say, when we were shaping them. Now that we're still shaping them, but we're gluing them down, you definitely need to be mindful that the curve or the curl of the petal is going outward or downward. Okay, so we don't want to curl our petals like this, but we want to curl our petals, or we want to glue our petals like so. Okay, so again, curve is going out and down. Again, just a dot, a lot. So, like that. those of you who are new here, this template is my own. It's available in my Etsy shop. It's half a rose, and then it sort of morphs into these like flying butterflies. But yeah, I really love this color. I find it very like soothing, very relaxing, and against the white, my white desk also looks really nice. Yeah, I also like to just have all my petals laid out individually. That way I can just like pick them up and it's just like a better flow. But yeah, you definitely like want to put as little bit of glue as possible. You really do not need a lot. So like when I push this button, I definitely do not push it like all the way. I just slightly apply some pressure on it and just watch how much it comes out. And also you definitely do not want to go in again too much, because then the petals are just like an L shape. We don't want that. We just want to lift them very slightly. So, I hope this makes sense. If not, you know, it's totally normal to try, you know, and go through that trial and error phase when you're just starting to make paper flowers. And a paper rose is definitely, I would say, like an intermediate level when it comes to paper flower making. If you are a total beginner, I wouldn't necessarily start with a paper rose. I mean, literally, you can pick any other flower template. They're all pretty beginner friendly, but the rose is one of those where it does require a bit more practice, especially when you are assembling it. Although I like to believe that my version, like the way I make the rose, the paper rose, is pretty beginner friendly. But again, there's just a learning curve when it comes to making paper flowers. So make sure that you're aware of that and that you give yourself some grace and that you don't give up. You know, you gotta like go through some material, you know what I mean, just for the purpose of learning. Okay, so our biggest petals are ready for assembly. Now I'm gonna do the smallest size, but I'm actually gonna start with the bud when it comes to assembling the flower. And then I'll lay out the petals. Or I might start with the petals, actually. I mean, it doesn't matter. So I don't know, I'll decide after I'm done with this. Again, just a little bit of glue and then overlap, and then start forming like a stack for your smaller petals. And then tomorrow, Wednesday, I will be going live to make the apple blossom dahlia. For those of you who, I don't know, see my posts and stuff. I'm not sure who's on the live, if it's like people that see my stories. I mean, I guess sometimes it overlaps. But anyway, basically I'm making the flower that you see in my last video, in my last reel, my last post. It's called the apple blossom dahlia, and I asked you guys actually whether you wanted me to make the pom-pom dahlia or the apple blossom dahlia, and you definitely, the majority, like 70-some% voted for the apple blossom dahlia, so that's awesome. I have just released this template in my Etsy shop, and I'm currently, I'm currently doing these lives where I go live every week, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to make a flower, paper flower, a paper craft, and so yeah. But today I'm specifically going live to make this design, again, because I have several clients that have asked for a detailed tutorial on the half rose. And of course, again, it is a flower that it's sort of like the intermediate level. So this needed to be done. Okay, so yeah, I'm actually gonna continue. I think it's gonna be like a better build up if I let me think. Is it I guess it is. I don't know, it's been a while since I made this design, so hopefully I don't mess it up. But okay, I'm gonna start with the biggest petal, and I'm going to put some glue at the bottom. And then I'm just going to set it onto the base like so, and we're going to go around again using the biggest size petal. So as you can see, they're sort of overlapping, but at the base, not so much. They're just right next to each other, okay? All right, so next we're gonna do 3 petals. So we did 4 for the first layer. Next we're gonna do 3. Or maybe 4, I don't know, we'll see. let's see. And I'm going to just fill in the gaps basically. So I'm just putting the new petals of like second layer right in between the petals of the first layer. So I am alternating the petal placement. Yeah, definitely I'm gonna add one more here, so. Yeah, definitely. Alright, I need a little bit of glue there. Okay. Let's see. I feel like could also add a petal there, but I'm gonna skip that for now. Then I'm gonna continue with my third layer, and I'm gonna bring the petals this time a little bit closer to like the center. This is the center, right? The very center. So if for the second layer, I just put them literally on top, just alternating the position, but on top of the first layer. Now for the third layer, I'm not simply gonna go on top, but I'm gonna come in a little bit, again, closer to the center. Repeat. Add one more up here. So far I've done 4, 4, and 4 petals using the bigger petals. I guess I'll do 3 more. You could stop here and continue to move on to the small ones, but for some extra fluffiness, you could just add 1, 2, and 3 more, okay? So, again, we're gonna come in a little bit closer to the center again. As well as alternating the placement. So this is the half of our rose. It's definitely got some dimension, and the color, like the pink, I love how the pink gets darker, you know, in between the folds. It's looking good. All right, now I'm going to use my smaller petals, and I'm going to continue with the same pattern. So I'm just going to fill in the gaps in between the petals, as well as bringing them a little bit closer to the center. Oops, I'm gonna try not to hit my phone with my head because I'm like right next to my phone, to the tripod. And just lay out your petals, and then it just flows better. You just have to remember to do it. Okay. So now that as we're getting closer to the center, the petals are getting smaller and smaller. Let's continue. Actually, I'm gonna stop right there. Looks good. So I'm gonna stop right here and I'm going to set the half rose aside so that I can work on the bud. The bud. So basically what we're gonna do is bring in together these like two sides, like so. Really tightly as possible. I like for there to be a super teeny tiny hole, you know, and then sort of hold that in place and then add glue here and here so that it actually stays. But again, see how easy it was for it to unravel? So you really got to hold it in place and then apply glue. But that's what we're doing. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side, and then repeat it. But with each new layer that I add to the bud, it's not going to come in as closely. There's going to be a little bit more space, and I'll obviously walk and talk, and you guys will see how I do that. But I'm going to set this this bud layer on the table because, again, I'm gonna use the table as like an extra hand, so to speak, to sort of keep my, to keep this section in place, right? I don't want it to unravel once I bring it in. And I sort of do this like hug, little petal hug here. I want to keep it in place. So it doesn't unravel. I just wanna unfold it a little bit just so that I can add some glue. And then again on the other side, because there were two petals that came together. So I literally just open up the edge of the petal so I can put some glue and then close it back up. Make sure it's all dry before I let go. And this is what you have. This is how we do the first hug. And then I'm gonna again come together for this one, but you know, I'm still gonna go tight. It's still gonna be a tight hug, right? But there's gonna be just a teeny tiny little bit more distance, kind of like that. Maybe a little bit tighter too. Okay, so that it imitates the rose bud. And so I want to bring this in again, and then again I like to hold it by putting my index finger on top here, and it sort of holds everything in place. And then just I'm gonna add some glue here and here, also on each side of the petal hug. Okay. And then bring it back. Make sure that when you add your glue, that you don't add it too close to the edge, and I'll show you what happens when you do, because I did that. And so when you add it like too close to the edge and then you close the paper or the petal, it like sort of comes out like it did here. Now it's fine because I'm gonna put in another layer and it's gonna cover it, but you want to avoid that, not just for aesthetic purposes, but also because you don't want to burn your fingers when you're smooshing this down and then all your glue comes out from the sides. So just a little tip keep you from, you know, hurting yourself. All right, so now we're gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna place this bud, little baby bud, here in the center. You can even add some glue to it to really secure it. I'm bringing it closer to me because I want to make sure it's right, it's like centered, but also I don't want to put my head in front of the camera. So you'll see me do this every once in a while. So yeah, now, since my last hug, we'll call this a hug, since my last hug was this way, now I want to alternate it, so I'm gonna bring this side together. So, and then this, right? So that it has some, I don't know, variety, I guess, would be the word. But also, again, if we think of the rosebud, it's got petals that are coming all around that center bud. So that's what we're trying to recreate. And like I mentioned here, you know, is where you're going to start to come out a little bit more. Again, you're going to continue, rather, that technique of making each petal or creating a little bit more space between each petal. You can also go in one at a time with your petals. So instead of doing like the hug, you bring in one petal and then the other. And this is our progress so far. You do end up using a little bit more glue this way, because you're adding glue again to each individual petal rather than two at the same time. But it does also give you a little bit more control over the space that you are creating. Like so. All right, we're going to continue. Actually, I want to go in a little bit. Don't like this curve very much, so I want to make it a bit more smooth. Okay. So again, since the last petal pair that I brought together was this way, I'm going to start this way now. One more. one more bud here. So as you can see, I'm leaving a lot more space now. The bud is not as tight as it was in the beginning, right? Okay, well, this is our simple bud. Now we are going to just attach a few of these, I guess they could be called transitional buds or transitional petals rather. Basically we're just gonna sort of continue the bud in a sense, but now we have these like more mature petals, right? But we're still gonna continue bringing them together like so. Not all the way in, but sort of halfway. They're half open, half closed. So first I'm gonna add some glue at the base so that I can attach the petal to the bud. Like so. And then I'm going to apply some glue down here on the sides. Again, careful because you're going to bring in the petal like so. So make sure you don't get too much glue and not too close to the edges. And I'll try to follow my advice. There we go. So then we're going to bring them in, sort of like squeeze it a little bit, open it a bit, kind of like that. You squeeze down here to create that like curved shape. And then we're going to do the same thing 3 more times. And then that's it. And then we're going to bring the bud and the flower together. Okay. There we go. Bring it in, but again, not too in. So if you do, just push it back out. And with hot glue, it does dry fast, but you have a little bit, you have like a few seconds where the glue is still warm, where you can still shift things around. Okay. So now we're gonna repeat the same thing, but actually I'm gonna need to repeat the same thing again here because that did not work. Because at this point we have this like bend here in the petal. There's a lot of tension, so it's a balance between not putting too much glue because you don't want too much glue, burn yourself, but also not putting too little glue, too few drops of glue, because then it's not going to stick. But you can always add more glue, versus if you get burnt, you know, can't really undo that. Okay. So Let me attach this last petal as well here, and then we'll see how this comes together. Okay, so I'm gonna close the bud by closing in these two side petals, and they are gonna come and sort of like close in a little bit these, because I'm literally putting this petal on top of these other ones. But then in the end, we're gonna open it again, just either with our hands or wooden dowel or whatever it is that you use to shape the petals, just to open them up a bit. But let's do the last one. And good timing, because the construction noise in my building has started. I have a very small window when they go on their lunch breaks, and it looks like lunch break is over. All right. So yeah. Now for the the butterflies, it's pretty easy. All you do is just fold them in half to give them some dimension, and then you just essentially form the rest of the flower. So you want to end up with a circle, right? But yeah, the majority, like the more complex part, is obviously building the rose. So now that the glue has dried, I'm gonna go in, like I mentioned, with my shaping tool. In my case, it's the wooden dowel, just to open up the bud a bit, or rather these like outer petals or transitional petals that we added. Again, we're just going to go back in those same really exact spot we did in the beginning, the sides, and we're just going to curl them outward or downward, outward, downward, same thing, until we get this lovely shape. Okay, then you're going to sort of, well, really just glue this down, but obviously making sure that it's like in the center, as centered as possible, somewhere here, basically. I'm gonna add some glue to, well, you can add it either to the base or you can add it to the bud. I added it to the base because it looks pretty centered to me. And then make any adjustments, minor adjustments, obviously, to your flower. But that's that. And look how pretty this is. It's a half rose. When I hold it in my hand like this, it looks kind of weird because it's like, it's missing something. But I just want to show you guys up close. And obviously what's missing is these lovely butterflies. And so, for example, if I were to do it, a canvas, it could be straight on the wall as well. But let's say you decide to use a canvas, then you're going to simply lay out your half flower, and of course you're gonna have the center, in the center of your canvas or shadow box or whatever, and then you're going to fill in this space with the butterflies. And so we're going to take our butterflies and bend the wings and then just place them. I like to just first place them here, fill in the space, and then sort of play around with positioning them or repositioning them until I like the way they look. And then I commit to actually gluing them down. And so in terms of the numbers of butterflies, it can vary. You can, fill the whole space with butterflies. They could literally be on top of each other, or you could have just, a few it really depends on the look you're trying to achieve, but that's why I love this design. That's why I think this design is so popular, is because you can really personalize it and make it your own. And yeah. And then of course, if you add like a quote, or if you're doing a shadow box, you could add a quote or a name, or you know, you can personalize it even more. But even in just making the flower itself, you can really have fun with it and unleash your creativity. But let's see, this here maybe, put that there. It's important when you're doing this, it's important all the time, but especially when you're putting this together, it's important to have a bird's eye view of your design, so that you can really shape it, you know what I mean? So I kind of, to have a true bird's eye view, I wouldn't need to put my head here, but I'm gonna just slide it for a second so I can see what we have. It actually looks pretty like this. I like it. Sometimes you don't need to do too many adjustments. Just put one over there. Slide this up a bit. So there's, when it comes to gluing the butterflies, there's 3 different ways, maybe even more. You can have them, you know, with one, I guess 2 different ways. So you can have them with one petal or one wing down, so they're kind of like on the side. So, and I guess the second way would have them on the other side, but same thing. Or you can glue like the body of the butterfly and have both wings be up. Okay, so again, that's another variation. It's another like way that you can have the butterflies. Come on, glue. Oh, let me just do this. Okay, well, looks like I need to go in there and release. Let's see. Now I forgot how I had it. I think I had it like this. Yeah. And then another thing that I am mindful of as I create this section, so the butterflies specifically, is that I try to have them like face different directions. So like some are here, like going like this, this sort of creates that like movement effect. So here I'm gonna glue the body of the butterfly. I'm gonna face like that a bit. And then here I'm gonna do that. The wing. But yeah, this is super cute for like little girl's room, baby shower, decor. Move a few things just because I, like I said, don't have a true bird's eye view as I'm making this, but get through it. I just hope the noise is not too audible for you guys, but I'm almost done anyways. All right. Makes sense. Let's see, this needs to go up there. This needs to be also put, I mean, this can continue. Actually, I like it here. Ooh, okay. And then ultimately, you can't overthink it because it's hard to go wrong. However like there's many different ways you can arrange them, and ultimately, no matter how you arrange them, it looks beautiful in its own way. But yeah, I'm gonna bring you guys down a bit so you can take a closer look. Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. And this is our 3D half rose, half butterflies design. Thanks guys for watching. Thank you for the kind words that you shared, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy crafting!